Okay, the last two questions. Let's have a look. 5x plus 7, this is an inequality. It's what we call an inequality. And we solve these in the same way that we solve just normal equations. So don't let this sign here worry you. This sign means more than or equal to, doesn't it? More than or equal to. But don't let it worry you. Just follow the same rules. So our aim here, our aim is to get x on its own on one side of the formula and everything else on the other side. Okay, so let's have a look. What do we do? Okay, so the first thing is to get rid of this minus 7 here, isn't it? So we do minus 7 there, but we've got to do minus 7 there as well. And if we do this, we get 5x on this side of the formula, of the equation. These two will cancel out. Is more than or equal to 22 minus 7 is 15. Okay. Next, we want to get rid of the 5. Well, there's a time sign in here, isn't there, between the 5 and the x. This means 5 times x. So the opposite of timesing is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And I end up with those cancelling out. And x is more than or equal to 15 divided by 5 is 3. So x is more than or equal to 3. So don't let inequalities worry you. Just treat them like ordinary equations. At this level, that's fine. Okay. If you were doing at higher levels, it can get a bit trickier, but you don't need to worry about that. Okay, the last question then. So solve these simultaneous equations. Simultaneous means at the same time. At the same time. So I'm going to number these 1 and 2. And remember that with any simultaneous equation question, what we're actually trying to do here is find out where two graphs cross. That's really what it's all about. Okay, this is one line, this is one straight line equation, this is another straight line equation. Now, I don't know what they would look like, but let's just say that one of them looks something like this, and one of them looks like that. This is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. When we solve these simultaneously, what we're actually trying to find is this point here, where they cross. Where they cross. And that point there has an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. So we need to find both of them. Okay, how do we do that? Well, we need to combine these two equations. Okay, and what we're trying to do, first of all, is to get rid of either the x's or the y's. Now, we can do that by either adding these equations together or subtracting one from the other. Now, I'm looking at the y terms at the moment because the number in front of the y here is 2 and the number in front of the y here is a minus 2. Okay, that means if I either subtract or add these, I should be able to eliminate them, get rid of them. Okay, but which is it? Do I subtract or do I add? Okay. Okay, well, let's try subtracting. Let's see what we get. We've got plus 2y here. Okay, and then if I subtract, I'm going to do a minus, and then I've got minus 2y. Minus 2y. Now, as you can see, we've got two negatives together, like this. So that means that those two negatives there, because they're right next to each other, will make a positive, won't they? So we'll end up with 2y plus 2y, or just 2y, plus another 2y. And that would make 4y. Well, that's no good, because we want them to cancel each other out. We want to get nothing. And we've got 4y. So that's no good at all. Now let's try adding. So now we've got plus 2y plus minus 2y. Okay, and this time we've got a plus and a minus together. So that's going to turn into a minus, isn't it? So we're going to end up with 2y minus 2y. And 2y minus 2y is nothing. So this is right, isn't it? This is what we want. So we are going to be adding, because we did an add here, didn't we? We're going to add these together here. So let's see, we've got 4x plus 3x is 7x. 7x. And we already know that if we add these two here, we're going to cancel each other out. That's why we're adding. And we get 23 plus 5 is 28. 28. Okay, so to find x then, if I divide both sides by 7, and I get x equals, those cancel out, get x equals 28 divided by 7 is 4. So x is 4. So we found x, but, you know, to find this coordinate here, to find this crossing point, we've got to find out what y is, haven't we? Got to find out what y is. Now, we do that by what we call substituting this value of x into one of these two equations. Yeah, and I think I'll choose this one, the top one, because this doesn't have any negatives in it, so it'll probably be slightly easier for me to do. But either of them will be fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down substitute in equation 1. Okay, and if I do that, I get 4 times x, well, x is 4, 4 times 4, plus 2y equals 23, okay, and 4 times 4 is 16, so I've got 16 plus 2y equals 23. Okay, now we've got a new aim. Now a new aim here, okay, we want y equals, don't we? So everything else, just y on its own, everything else across the other side. What do we do first? Well, we've got to get rid of this 16. This 16 is on its own, isn't it? Always deal with numbers that are on their own first when you're doing this kind of thing. So I'm going to take 16 away from this side, but then I also need to take 16 away from the other side of the equation, the other side of the equal sign. Those cancel out, so I'm left with 2y equals 23 minus 16 is 13 is 7. 7. Okay, so finally divide both sides by 2. Divide by 2. Those cancel out, and I'm left with y equals 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So y equals 3.5. Now, before I put those answers in here, I just need to check that these are right. Okay, I'm not sure about the 3.5. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you know, it's a point, it's a decimal, isn't it? And, you know, I just want to make sure that I've got this right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute both these values, the x and the y value, into the other equation, equation 2 here, to check it. Okay, so this is I'm going to do that over here. Little box here. This is my check now. Okay, so we've got 3x minus 2y equals 5, and I'm going to substitute this value of x and this value of y into here. So we end up with 3 times x, x is 4, minus 2 times y, well, y is 3.5. And if I've done this correctly, I will take full responsibility. If we've done this incorrectly, or correctly, we should get 5. We should get 5. If we don't, we know we've got it wrong. Okay, so let's have a look. 3 times 4 is 12, minus 2 times 3.5 is, well, 2 times 3.5 is 7. So we've got 12 minus 7, is 5, yeah. Okay. So, with confidence now, I can put those values into the answer boxes there. And I know I can go out to the exam knowing that I've got this question right. And remember that there are usually ways to check questions as you're going along. You know, so you do that. Do that. Whenever you can check a question, okay, always go back and do that, because it's worth knowing, isn't it? That and if you get it, if you find out you've got something wrong, you can then correct it. Okay, that's the end of the paper. Okay, so I'm hoping that's been of use. If you need any help with that, or you want to go through anything, you know where I am.